Hello, Suncrest. Imagine if you've clicked on play on this video, you're thinking a few things right now. Number one, you're probably thinking, Greg, that is a really green shirt. Yeah, works especially well on video, I can tell in the contrast to the red background here in my office. Second thing is, you're probably thinking, Greg, what do you have in your office that you'd like to share with us today? And so, since I knew you were asking that question, I went and got my Tony La Russa autographed photo right here, just as a good reminder that the Cardinals are, probably by the time you watch this, around 10 games ahead of the Cubs in first place. Thought you'd appreciate that. And then third, and of course most important, is that you've seen the headline, but probably would love to have a little bit of explanation about a transition that's happening on our staff. Mary Beth Stockdale has served on our staff for over 5 years now. And we just announced that she'll be transitioning off the staff this fall, which in a lot of ways, almost every way, makes this kind of a sad and definitely a reflective time for me on our staff. A lot of you are so new to our church that you don't remember when Mary Beth came, and even if you did, you may not know the whole story behind it, and I think it's worth telling, at least briefly here. It was over 5 years ago when you would have looked at our church and you would have said, hey, pretty healthy, good attendance, this and that. But if you would have started to look internally, you would have found that very few of our people were connected in small groups, in Bible studies, in community groups. Pathetically few, actually. And Mary Beth Stockdale, along with a friend of hers, sat in my office and said, Greg, we got to do something about this. Sometimes people will come and say, hey, we got to do something about it. And what they mean is, Greg, you need to do something about it. But Mary Beth owned the responsibility of saying, is it possible that our whole church could get connected into small groups? And they had a curriculum called 10 Keys to Unlocking the Bible. And they just pushed and led and did everything they needed to do to create one of the most seismic shifts I think Suncrest has ever experienced, where we went from only having a few groups to having 30 groups, only a few people connected, to over 300 adults connected, and all of a sudden this group effort was off and running, and it brought great health to our church. We also knew it wasn't going to be sustainable unless somehow we could figure out how to staff this position for us, and we knew Mary Beth was the right person to do that. So we did what we do actually extremely often around here, is we said, Mary Beth, would you join our staff? By the way, we can't pay you, we don't have any money, but would you do it as a volunteer? And she said yes. And we finagled a few things, and she actually became my administrative assistant part-time so she could focus some time in the office here on groups and this and that. And it's developed over the years to where Mary Beth has led an incredible effort to help people connect in relationships where truth meets life. And as she transitions off of our staff, you will see her fingerprints everywhere, personally and through her leadership, to see people who have had life-changing conversations, life-giving friendships. Just her marks are all over this place in very godly ways that fulfill our mission to be used by God to change lives. So, over the course of the past year, Mary Beth and I have had a few conversations. She's communicated very honestly with me that she's a little unsettled, wondering what God was doing. And when we sat down a few weeks ago, she told me that it had become clear to her that God was leading her to the next thing. And even though the next thing wasn't perfectly clear, she felt like she needed to make this step before God would reveal the next thing to her. And I respect that a great deal about Mary Beth. There's not a more sincere person I know when it comes to following what God truly wants them to do. So we mark this transition. She'll be on our staff until the end of September. We anticipate that she'll continue as a volunteer around here and worship with us unless God calls she and her husband and her family somewhere else out of the area. But mostly, at least for this moment, what I want to say is thank you to Mary Beth. Thanks for your leadership. Thanks for what you mean to me, to my family, even to my children. Thanks for the difference you've made around here. Thanks for letting God use you, even when you lacked confidence early on and lacked the knowledge that you went and educated yourself with. Thank you for letting God use you to change all these lives around here. We love you, And there will be more to talk about in the coming weeks and months as the transition reshapes us in some ways. But we know God's good, and we know that you, Mary Beth, will follow him, and we will as well. So thanks.